What would you do if the person who was supposed to love you most laughed while someone else humiliated you? Not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable laugh, a real deep, open-mouthed laugh. The kind that comes from a place of total comfort. The kind that tells you everything you needed to know, all at once in a single terrible moment. That is exactly what happened to Diana Caldwell on the night of the Hargrove Foundation Gala. And what she did next changed everything. Diana had spent 22 years building something quiet and steady with her husband, Marcus Caldwell. They had met when they were both young and uncertain, back when Marcus had nothing but a rented apartment, a worn leather briefcase, and a hunger to prove himself to the world. Diana had believed in him before anyone else did. She had worked 2 jobs while he built his first company. She had skipped vacations, postponed dreams, and smiled through long, lonely evenings, all so that Marcus could chase the future he kept promising them both. And he had delivered. Over the years, Marcus built Caldwell Global, ventures into one of the most respected development firms in the country. By the time he was 51, he was weeks away from signing a $10 billion infrastructure contract with the Hargrove Foundation, and the deal that would cement his legacy for generations. Diana was proud of him. She really was. She just had not expected him to bring Vanessa Cole to the gala. Vanessa was 34, polished and relentless. She had joined the company 3 years earlier as a senior project consultant, and within 18 months, she had moved from conference rooms into Marcus's private life. Diana had noticed the signs slowly, the way a person notices the tide going out, not all at once, but in the gradual disappearance of something that used to be there. Late nights, quieter dinners, a new cologne she had not bought for him. She had not confronted Marcus, not yet. She had told herself she was waiting for solid ground, for the right moment, for something she could not yet name. Maybe she had been hoping she was wrong. She was not wrong. When Diana walked into the grand ballroom of the Hargrove Hotel that evening, wearing a cream satin gown she had chosen carefully and quietly, she saw them almost immediately. Marcus stood near the center of the room in his black tuxedo, laughing loudly with a group of investors. Vanessa stood beside him in a red dress, her hand resting on the table just inches from his, close enough to be intentional. Diana moved through the room slowly. She greeted a few familiar faces. She accepted a glass of sparkling water from a passing server. She breathed. She found her place at the table and sat down. And Marcus came over a few minutes later, kissing her briefly on the cheek as though nothing in the world was out of place. The evening moved forward. Dinner was served. Speeches were made. The room hummed with the particular kind of energy that comes when powerful people gather in beautiful spaces, all of them performing their best versions of themselves. Diana was composed. She was always composed. And then Vanessa walked over. It happened at the table, in front of colleagues, donors, and board members. Vanessa had had enough wine to make her bold. Or perhaps she had simply decided that this was the night she would stop pretending. She stood behind Diana's chair, and without a word of warning, she tilted her glass and let the red wine pour, slowly, deliberately, and down the front of Diana's cream gown. The wine spread like a wound across the fabric. Diana gasped. The table went silent. Several people nearby turned to look, and Marcus laughed. It was not a small sound. It was not a surprised sound. It was full and unguarded. The laugh of a man who found something genuinely funny, who had forgotten in that moment that the woman sitting in the ruined dress was his wife of 22 years. Diana did not scream. She did not cry, though her eyes filled quickly and one tear slipped down before she could stop it. She did not reach for a napkin or look around for help or ask anyone what had just happened. She simply sat very still. She looked down at the contract folder on the table. Marcus had placed it there earlier, proud of it, planning to discuss it with the foundation's chairman before the end of the evening. The words on the cover read clearly, Hargrove Foundation, Infrastructure Partnership Agreement, $10 billion. She picked it up. She opened it slowly, the way a person opens something they have read many times before and know well. Diana had reviewed every version of this contract over the past 14 months. She had read the clauses, flagged the risks, suggested revisions. She had done this quietly, without credit, the way she had done most things in their marriage. Her name was not on the contract, but her fingerprints were on every page. She reached into her small clutch and removed the slim, executive pen she always carried. She uncapped it carefully. And then, in neat, clear letters across the signature page, She wrote a single word, "Cancelled." She pressed the foundation's official stamp, the one Marcus had asked her to carry for him that evening because his jacket pocket was too small, onto the page beside it. The stamp landed with a quiet final sound. The silence at the table was different after that. Heavier, real. Marcus stopped laughing. Vanessa stepped back. The chairman of the Hargrove Foundation, an older man named Gerald Hargrove, who had known Diana for years, looked across the table with an expression that was not quite surprise, more like recognition, like he had been watching something unfold for a while and had finally seen it reach its conclusion. Diana stood up. She smoothed the front of her ruined gown with both hands, a small, dignified gesture, the kind of thing a woman does when she wants to remind herself that she is still standing. She looked at Marcus, directly, not with anger, not with tears, with the particular clarity that comes only after a very long time of being patient with the wrong things. "I built this with you," she said quietly. "Every part of it." She did not wait for his answer. She picked up her clutch, nodded politely to Gerald Hargrove, and walked out of the ballroom. The night air outside the hotel was cool and clean. Diana stood on the steps for a moment, breathing it in. Her gown was stained and her hands were steady, and the city moved around her the way cities do, indifferent and alive. She did not know yet what the next chapter would look like. She did not have a plan laid out neatly in front of her, but she had something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt like herself. Behind her, she could already hear the muffled commotion beginning inside the ballroom, voices rising, chairs shifting, the particular noise of a powerful room thrown into confusion. She knew that Gerald Hargrove was a careful man who valued stability and trust above all things. She knew that a canceled contract, stamped with the Foundation's own seal, would not simply be undone with a phone call. She also knew that Marcus had never once asked her what she thought of Vanessa. He had assumed she did not notice. He had assumed she would not move. People who build things quietly are often underestimated. That is, until the day they choose to stop building. Diana Caldwell walked down the steps and into the night, and for the first time in years, every step felt completely her own.